Hello everyone, I welcome all of you to this lecture. So we have started unit number 3. So under that we have seen need of a measurement. Okay, previously we have seen need of measurement, different measurement quantities that we have seen. Okay, so let's have a look on that. So initially we have started with the need of measurement, why measurement is required. Okay, so different points we have discussed. After that we have discussed the important point, that is a method of measurements. So what do you mean by direct method, what do you mean by indirect method, that we have seen. After that we have seen comparative method, then contact method, complementary method. Okay, so these methods we have seen. After that we have started with the new point, that is units and standards. Out of that we have seen different types of units named as fundamental units, so which can be classified as derived units, fundamental units, and supplementary units that we have seen. Okay, so at that time I also told you that please see more number of fundamental units, because important units have been listed here, but you have to see the more number of fundamental units, then derived units and supplementary units that are used in engineering field. Okay, so these things we have completed in our previous lecture. Okay, so let's move forward with the next point, that is standards. Okay, so units and standards are related to each other, because for the units we are making some standards. Okay, so which are the standards that we have to see. So what do you mean by standard or standards? See here, all the instruments are calibrated at the time of a manufacturer against manufactured standards. Okay, so whenever the instrument is constructed or instrument is designed, then it is calibrated at the time of a manufacturer against the measurement standards. Okay, so there are some measurement standards which are taken into account while calibrating and designing any instrument. Okay, so suppose you have designed one instrument that is a weighing machine. Okay, so whenever you are designing weighing machine, your weighing machine must show correct value of the measurement quantity, okay, or that object. Okay, so you must know that the weight that you are going to put on that weighing machine. Okay, suppose 1 kg weight is put on that weighing machine plane, then what will happen, that weighing machine should show that 1 kg weight on a display, that may be digital display. Okay, so at that time you must have one international level standard of a 1 kg, so that you can design that weighing machine correctly, and so that the weighing machine can operate correctly in future whenever you are going to deliver that weighing machine to the users or customers. Okay, so that's why all the instruments are calibrated at the time of manufacturer or manufacturing against measuring standards. Okay, a standard of a measurement is a physical representation of a unit of measurement. Okay, so as now we have discussed about this, standard of measurement is a physical representation of a unit of a measurement. Okay, so it may be any unit, it may be we can say kilogram, or it may be different units like meter, second, then we can say mole. Okay, so these are different units. Okay, and the standards for this unit must be defined. Okay, a standard of a measurement is physical representation of a unit of a measurement. Okay, suppose you are taking a kg as a unit, then that standard is nothing but a standard 1 kg physical representation. Okay, so that's why a standard of measurement is a physical representation of a unit of a measurement. A standard means known accurate measure of a physical quantity. Okay, so that standard is known accurate measure of that physical quantity. For example, if you take a 1 kg, it is a standard physical quantity of a 1 kg which will be universally accepted. Okay, so that's why it is written over here, that is a standard means known accurate measure of a physical quantity. Okay, so if you see the broad classification of standards, standards are defined by 4 ways. international standards may be there, then there may be a primary standards, there may be a secondary standards, and the last is a working standards on which we are generally working. Okay, so these are the 4 types of standards. Okay, so we have to see this one by one in brief. Let's see first what do you mean by international standard. Okay, so if you see the international standards are defined as the international agreement. Okay, so there may be a summit, and in that summit, international level, we can say scientists or other representative of all the countries or all the corners of the world are meeting together, and they are defining some international agreement, and under that they are defining some standards so that it can be universally accepted. Okay, so the international standards are defined as the international agreement. Okay, so these agreements, as mentioned above, are maintained at the International Bureau of Weight and Measures, and are periodically evaluated and checked by absolute measurements in terms of fundamental units of physics. Okay, so these standards, as mentioned above, are maintained at International Bureau of Weights. Okay, so there is one Bureau of Weight and Measurement that is called as International Bureau of Weights and Measurements, and in that bureau, all the standards are maintained. Okay, continuously maintained, and it periodically or continuously evaluated and checked by the absolute measurement. Okay, and if there is an error, they can they may be replaced with some standard quantity of same type. Okay, so that's why it is mentioned here, that is periodically evaluated and checked by absolute measurements. So say there are some absolute measurements, or we can say perfect measurements. Absolute means perfect measurements are there in terms of fundamental units of physics. Okay, so absolute measurements are nothing but one perfect measurement is there, and that is used to for periodical evaluation. Okay, so these international standards are not available to the ordinary user for the calibration purpose. Okay, so generally these standards are kept as a reference, and it is not available for the use or a calibration purpose. Okay, so these are generally kept in Bureau of Weights, International Bureau of Weights and Measurements, and it is not available for the ordinary use of calibration. Okay, so they are just for reference, and with that help of that reference we can design different standards for actual use also. Okay, so for the improvement in the accuracy of absolute measurement in the international units are replaced by the absolute units in 1948. Okay, so absolute units are more accurate than the international units. Okay, so absolute means what perfect units are more accurate than international units. So what is written here over here is that for the improvements in the accuracy of absolute measurement, the international units are replaced by the absolute units in 1948. Okay, because the absolute units are more accurate than international units. Okay, so let us see a next point, that is primary standards. Okay, so these are highly accurate absolute standards which can be used as ultimate reference standard. Okay, and these primary standards are maintained at a national standard laboratory in different countries. Okay, so right now we have discussed about international standard, which is only one throughout the globe, that is International Bureau of Weights and Measures. But when you come to the national level, then these standards which are maintained in national laboratories, that can be called as a primary standards. Okay, so these are the highly accurate absolute standards which can be used as a ultimate reference standard, and these primary standards are maintained at a national standard laboratory in different countries. So each and every country will be having these primary standards in their national labs. Okay, again these standards are representing fundamental units as well as some electrical and mechanical derived units are calibrated independently by the absolute measurement at each of the national laboratories. Okay, so if you see this primary standards, these standards are representing the fundamental units that we have discussed earlier. So which are the fundamental units that you have to see in previous slides, but as well as some electrical and mechanical derived units are also calibrated independently by the absolute measurement at each of the national laboratory. Okay, so I think it is clear to you now. Now if you see the next type of standard, that is a secondary standard. Now as I mentioned above, the primary standards are not available for the use outside the national laboratories. Means what, as the international standards, like the international standards, these primary standards are also used as a reference standards, but they are used in the lab only. They are not used outside the lab. Okay, so as mentioned here, the primary standards are not available for the use outside for the national laboratories. So the various industries need some reference standards. If you see the industry real-time applications, they require some reference standards which can be directly used in the industry. Okay, so to protect highly accurate primary standards, the secondary standards are maintained, and which are designed and constructed from the absolute standards. So from that primary standards only, the secondary standards are designed and maintained. Okay, now these are used by the measurements and calibration laboratories in the industry and are maintained by the particular industry to which they belongs. Means what? From international level we came down to the that primary level, and from primary level we have designed some units or standards from the primary standards, and these are now maintained, measured, calibrated by the industries at their labs. Okay, so these are used by the measurements and calibration laboratories in the industry and are maintained by the particular industry to which they belongs. Now let's move towards the last type of a standard, that is called as a working standard. Okay, so if you see the working standard, these are the basic tools of a measurement laboratory and are used to check and calibrate the instruments used in laboratory for the accuracy and performance. Okay, so now these are the actual working standards which are generally used everywhere. Okay, so if you see these are the basic tools of a measurement which are used in laboratory for accuracy and for the performance, which are for the instruments. Okay, so this is the flow. It is showing the hierarchy of that standards. International standards are at the top, so based upon that the national standards will be there at each country's national laboratories. After that, from that national standards, industries and secondary laboratories are there which are maintaining their standards, and after that measurement labs comes, and the actual process instruments come where the working standards are used. Okay, so these are some basic classification of standards, okay, which is listed over here. Now let us see the next point, that is measurement instruments, okay, or measuring instruments. So if you see the measuring instruments, there are n number of instruments, but if you see any measuring instruments, they are broadly classified as a list given here. Okay, so the instrument can be a deflection and null type of instrument. Okay, so you can classify the deflection or a null type of instrument. Secondly, if you see the instrument, it can be analog or a digital instrument. After that, instrument can be active or it can be passive. Okay, then your instrument can be fully automatic or it may be manually operated. Then instrument may be contacting or making contact with the measurement quantity, or non-contacting type of instrument. Then instrument can be absolute or it can be secondary instrument. The last one is your instrument can be intelligent. Okay, so if you see any instrument, it can come under 2 or 3 categories. Okay, but broadly it is categorized like this. Okay, so any instrument you are using may be active as well as contacting as well as intelligent. Okay, so or any instrument that you are using that may be digital as well as automatic as well as intelligent. Okay, but broadly classification is given over here. Okay, so you can classify your instruments like this. So let us see these measuring instruments one by one. So the deflection and a null type of an instrument, okay, that we have to see. So let's see first deflection type of an instrument, the physical effect generated by the measuring quantity. Okay, so I think you may have seen old type of weighing machines which are not digital. So in that case, whenever you attach the weight to be measured, or object's weight to be measured to that machine, then there will be a physical effect that will be generated over there. Means what? There may be a deflection of that pointer from one point to another point. Okay, so if you see this pointer and suppose the weight is 5 kg, then what will happen at this there is a hook, and to this hook what will happen, you will attach your weight and the pointer will move like this, okay, based upon that particular weight. So this is the physical effect generated by the measurement quantity. So this type of instrument can be called as a deflection type of instrument. Okay, and there is another type of instrument, that is a null type of instrument. So equivalent opposing effect to nullify the physical effect caused by the quantity. Means what we have to do is that equivalent opposing effect to nullify the physical effect caused by the quantity. Okay, so the same physical effect should be given to that to nullify that instrument, that is the null type of instrument, so that it can measure new quantities. Okay, so this is the null type of we can say instrument. And then next type of is analog and digital instruments. I think it is very clear to you. By watching only you can tell which type of analog is which type of analog instrument is there and which type of digital instrument is there. So physical variables of interest in the form of a continuous or stepless variation. So if you see this analog, so there is a analog scale over there and some mechanical measurement is done over here. If you see the example shown over here is, this is analog speedometer and this is the digital speedometer. So this is an analog instrument we can say, and this is the digital instrument we can say. In analog type of instrument, the physical quantity that is to be measured is connected here over here, and with the help of physical arrangement inside this, this deflection will move as per the speed of the bike. Okay, suppose this speedometer is attached to the bike, then as per the rotation of your bike's wheels, what will happen here, there is a mechanical arrangement is done over there, and it is directly this pointer is directly proportional to that mechanical variation, and that is directly proportional to the speed of your wheel or bike, we can say. So the physical variables of interest means, for example, here the physical variable of interest is a speed, so in the form of a continuous or a stepless variation. Okay, the physical variables are represented by the digital quantities in digital speedometer. So here you are getting a direct digital readout over there. Okay, so if you see nowadays most of the bikes comes with this digital speedometer, because it is showing you actual speed. Okay, so here over there some vibration may be there. Okay, so for example, suppose it is showing the 40 kmph speed, then there may be a vibration of that pointer will be there. Okay, but here it will show the exact value of a speed. That is the first advantage of this digital instrument. Another important thing is that there may be a error inside this deflection type of or we can say analog type of speedometer, but there will not be any error as the quantity is measured in digital form and represented in a digital form, processed in a digital form, and that's why there will not be any error in this type of digital type of instruments. Okay, so there may be a problem of wear and tear. So here there will not be any problem of wear and tear. Okay, so just proper electrical signal or electrical power should be there, then it will operate. One advantage of this is that it may not require power for its operation, as mechanical arrangement is there, but it requires digital power or DC voltage, we can say, for its operation. Okay, so another important thing is that the data of this digital instrument can be stored in a memory card and can be used for the future use for analysis purpose, but here the storage is not possible. Okay, so these are some advantages, disadvantages and key points of this analog and digital instruments. I am just covering the basics of this, but you have to write in deep in a paper. Okay, so you have to make your own points or own notes. That is very important. Now next type of instruments classification is active and passive instruments. Okay, so I think you have studied active and passive components in electronics. If you see the example of a passive component, that is the resistor, capacitor, and inductors are the passive components. And if you see the active component, generally the transistors, different types of diodes, these are called as active components. Okay, so why the active and passive components classification is done over there, how to classify that. So based upon that classification only, the active and passive, or based upon that definition only, this active and passive instruments are defined over here. So if you see components, passive components, in a passive type of a components like a resistor and capacitor, they will not require some different power for its operation. Okay, for example, if you see the resistor, simply you have to use that resistor in a circuit, and whatever the current will be there given to the input, that will be reduced by that resistance based upon its values. But that resistor will not require some different value for its operation. Okay, but if you see the active component like a transistor, that transistor may be having base, collector, and emitter. Okay, and whenever the transistor is used in common emitter configuration, you are giving the power to that transistor to the collector, that we are applying the VCC or different signals, and to the base we are applying input signal that is to be processed, or that is to be amplified, or any other function based upon that transistorized circuit. So if you see the transistor, you have to bias that transistor, means what, you have to apply the power to that transistor, and you have to operate that transistor in active region, cutoff region, or saturation region. Okay, so means what, for operation of a transistor you require separate power, and after that your transistor comes under work, and after that only you can use that transistor for your applications. Means after that you have to apply the input to the base, or based upon your configuration. So that's why such type of components are called as active components, which gives some amplification in the circuit. So these are generally classification based upon the power source. These are done. Okay, so if you see the active and passive instruments, the same concept is used here. The instruments are those that require some source of auxiliary power, that is called as an active instrument. Okay, so if you see here, it is called as active instrument. Okay, I think in transducers also we have seen active and passive type of power transducers. The same definition can be used here. Similarly, the passive instrument, the energy requirement of the instruments are met entirely from the input signal. There is no need to apply the external power source for its operation. Okay, so if you see, this is the passive instrument. Okay, so this is classified over here. Next is automatic and manually operated instrument that we have to see. If you see the manually operated, they requires the service of a human operator. Okay, and if you see the automatic operator, they doesn't require human operators. Okay, means what, if you see here, the classification is given over here. If you see, this is the manually operated instrument for a weighing machine, or weighing. It is a basically manually operated weighing machine, and this is the digital weighing machine. Okay, so here what you have to do is that you have to apply the weight over here, and after that you have to do the adjustment over here, and after that you will get the readings over this scale. Okay, so here you are going to apply your weight, and here you have to do some physical operation, and it may require the human operator to operate this, to adjust the scale and all other things, to nullify the instrument and all other things. Okay, but if you see the digital weighing machine, which is now everywhere used, here on this weighing plan, what we have to do is that we have to put the weight on this weighing plane, and after that it will show directly readout on this digital display. So this can be called as automatic operated instrument, and this is the manually operated instrument. Okay, so next is that contacting and non-contacting type of instrument that we have to study. Okay, so if you see the contacting instrument, a contacting with measuring medium, means what, it is contacting with a measuring medium. Okay, and if you see the non-contacting instrument, it is not coming in a contact with the measurement medium. Okay, so the measure the desired input even though they are not in a close contact with the measuring medium. Okay, so here the two types of thermometers are shown here. So if you see here, this is also digital thermometer, and this is also what, digital thermometer. I think you are aware of this because nowadays in these corona situations, nowadays this instrument is mostly used to measure the temperature of a human body. Okay, I think you may have observed this at some places. But if you see, this is also digital thermometer, and it is also measuring the temperature and showing on a display. This is also measuring the instrument temperature and showing on a display. But what is the basic difference between this and this is that here you can measure the temperature of any quantity or any body or any object only when if you touch this nip to that particular medium or the quantity to be measured, okay, or the object to be measured. So this is the sensor, temperature sensor, which must come in a contact with that object so that it can show you a temperature reading over here. Okay, but if you see this type of a temperature, I think you know about the internal use of this. If you don't know about this, please Google it and please see how it operates. It operates on an infrared. Okay, so it is showing it is sending a signal, and after that it is receiving that signal back to it, and after that, based upon that signal analysis, its temperature is measured. Okay, as an electrical or electronics engineer, mostly it is electronic instrument, we can say. As an electronics engineer, you must know the curiosity, you must know the internal circuit diagram of this one and its operation or its working principle. Please Google it and please see how it operates. It is there on YouTube or some different sites. Please see that how it operates. Okay, as an electronics engineer, you must know about this. That much curiosity must be there. Okay, so please see that how it operates. It is not coming in contact directly, so some distance is required. How to adjust that distance, okay, that also you must know. Please see that, it is very interesting. Okay, and you can design this at your home also, no problem. It is very cheap. Okay, so this is a contacting and non-contacting type of a instrument. See, now we have to see the absolute and secondary instruments. The next classification is there. So the absolute instrument is nothing but these instruments gives the value of the electrical quantities in terms of the absolute quantities, which are generally used in universal standards. Okay, but if you see the secondary instrument, here deflection of instruments can read directly. Okay, so sorry, this is all about the absolute and secondary. So if you see, this is the absolute measurement. Okay, so just search on internet what do you mean by absolute. This word is coming periodically in this explanation. So this is the absolute instrument, and this is the instrument which gives you the readout directly, which can be called as a secondary instrument. I think we have discussed about this absolute secondary instruments earlier in this classification. Okay, so let us see the last type of instrument, that is a intelligent instrument. Okay, so this intelligent instrument can be called as digital instrument, it can be called as automatic instruments. Okay, so that we have discussed earlier. But the intelligent means what? There may be some intelligent system like a microprocessor or microcontroller must be there, which will analyze some things, which will take something as an input, which will process that input, and which will take decision based upon that, and it will give the output. Okay, so such a type of instrument can be called as intelligent instrument. Some processing must be done over there, some data display must be there, some data readout must be there, some ADC DAC systems may be there. Okay, so such type of peripherals must be there with one intelligent device called as microprocessor or microcontroller. Okay, so in that there are n number of parameters are there, n number of functions are there available for that. Okay, for example, suppose this is a digital speedometer. Okay, so here you can use this digital speedometer or this display or this system for measurement of speed, but at the same time, if you want to display some temperature over here, you can incorporate here one LM35 sensor as a temperature sensor. You have to use that analog to digital converter over there, and after that it should be given to the microprocessor, and microprocessor will process that signal and display over the display. Okay, and suppose if you want to give some color to this display and some rolling display must be there as per your requirement, that also you can do. Okay, suppose if you want to use some buzzer over here when the speed or indication over there when the speed crosses 80 or 90 kmph, then that may be also done over here. Okay, so n number of things you can do here. That systems, these types of systems generally are called as smart systems or intelligent systems, and such an instrument is called as intelligent instruments. Okay, so here it is written over here that is microprocessor incorporated with measuring instruments. Okay, so I think for today's lecture this much is sufficient. Okay, please go through each and every classification of instruments that we have seen. Okay, so in next lecture we will start with some performance characteristics of instruments named as static characteristics and dynamic characteristics. Okay, but for today's lecture this much is, I think this much is sufficient. Please go through that. Okay, so we will meet in a next lecture. Thank you.